if you can find your seats. Any last minute refills on drinks and stuff? This is your last morning. Come on down, grab a seat. We're going to kick off the Raleigh SEO meetup for this evening. Everybody is in the right spot, right? All right, so just to reiterate so everybody knows what's going on with the schedule, we get started at 5 with networking and pizza. We socialize until 6. I'm a little bit late getting us started this evening. Yeah, sorry. Come on. And then we kick off the presentation. We do live stream to Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. So we'll be taking questions via live tweets at SEO Meetup. This is also helpful if anybody in the room happens to be a little bit shy but would really like to ask a question without having to raise their hand. You can tweet at SEO Meetup from in the room and we'll just ask the question for you. So, first off, we need to thank our sponsors. Top of the list, we have the Raleigh SEO Conference. That event happens each May, and that is where the majority of the budget comes from for these events throughout the year. So that is getting started being planned now, and you'll see some more information coming in your emails about that as we get closer to that event in May. Next up, we have Deep Crawl, Rank Ranger, Look to the Right, The Digital, Reunion Marketing, and Opsis. Collectively, these sponsors help us to be able to have this venue, to have these events, to be able to live stream these events, that way you can watch on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook, and also go back and be able to reference these later. So if you're feverishly taking notes and you miss something, it's already live on YouTube before you get home. Also, you have the food that's in the back there that is provided by our sponsors. So, this is where I need to ask for something from you guys to help me with securing renewals on these sponsorships. At some point this evening, take your favorite quote, snap a picture, something like that, post it up on your favorite social media channel, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you like to engage with people, and mention one or more of our sponsors. You'll see on the poster over there, you've got the list of the sponsors in case you didn't catch them, but I'm going to read it off one more time. You've got the Raleigh SEO Conference, Deep Crawl, Rank Ranger, Look to the Right, The Digital, Reunion Marketing, and Opsis. Letting them know that we appreciate their support helps me to get you all free food and drinks. All right, without further ado, we are going to dive into SEO 101. Since it is February, I had some fun with the title. This will be an introduction that you're going to love. And we have Jairus, which is the SEO program manager at Red Hat, who's going to help us get our heads around an introduction to SEO. And I always like to remind people, especially for the digital marketing veterans in the room, that even Michael Jordan said that the fundamentals were most important to his game. So even if you think you know everything, you're probably going to remember something that Jairus is going to mention that you're going to go, I haven't looked at that in a while. I should probably put that on my to-do list for this week. Without further ado, Jairus?
Hello, everyone. I'm Jairus Mitchell. I'm the SEO program manager for Red Hat, which means that I try and convince people to spend money on free software. Sorry to disappoint Frank, I didn't make this Valentine's theme. How to optimize for SEO, which is kind of a joke because it's got optimize in there twice. Or, what can we learn about SEO by Googling? So I've done a bunch of sort of intro presentations and talked about this stuff a lot. How many people have some foundational understanding Okay, we've got a couple. How many people are just like, I don't know what this is, I don't know what any of this stuff means. All right, welcome. Hopefully, we can make this not scary. Because in the end, it's not super scary, it's just weird and strange and kind of bizarre. So I Googled SEO 101 and learned SEO, just to get a lay of the land, to figure out. So whenever you're thinking about search engines, you're thinking about how people are searching, and you're thinking about what content the search engine wants to show up, or is going to prioritize. At the core of it, spoiler alerts, if you answer a question, you have a better likelihood of showing up in the search results. So, did the Google, looked at some of the top pages, identified some trends. We can see that Google is showing either an answer to the question directly, or some sort of hub page that goes into deep granular detail about all of the aspects of SEO. We don't have enough time for me to give you a crash course in all this stuff, so what I can do is give you the basis of understanding and a couple of touch points and a couple of framing mechanisms that you can use as you go forward to better understand how to approach learning about SEO. I should have called this learning how to learn SEO. Would have been better. So, if we click through to those search results pages, man, they look super different, even though two of these pages are from the same website. So both moths. So we've got long form content here, we've got long form content here. You can't see it because backlink does some weird stuff, but there's kind of a hub and spoke model where you have one page linking out to a bunch, so you can build kind of a topical authority around the concept. At the core of SEO, remember that searches are questions that humans ask a computer. They are asking for information, they are seeking information, even if it's just, where's a gas station? That's still a question, it's still information. Even if it's cake, that's a question. It requires a lot more inference and empathy to understand what they're aiming for and what they're trying to get out of that. But if we look at those previous things, they all have some common traits. They start with an intro, a warm greeting, they establish credibility. Don't actually need that, but if you're going to be nice to your readers, if you're going to provide your readers with information that they find useful, you also want to build a relationship with them. You want them, even if they only ever go to your site once, you don't want it to leave a bad taste in their mouth, and you hope that they'll come back, and you hope that you'll establish authority around whatever it is that you're writing about or building your site about, and that they'll come back. And you don't want them to come back and be like, this fucking pop-up again. So then all of those pages go into what a search engine is, or the history of a search engine. They explain how it works, crawling, indexing, ranking, and then they talk about how to do some common tasks. So what I can gather from this, I hit the wrong button. I can expect that you want an intro, a warm greeting, for me to establish credibility, to explain what a search engine is, explain how search engines work, at least at a high level, and how to do a couple common tasks. So let's start with the warm greeting. Hello everyone, my name is Jairus. I work for a software company here in downtown Raleigh called Red Hat. I'm going to establish credibility. I have been in SEO since 2012. I have done a myriad of strange roles. I've been agency side, and now I'm in-house. Also did a lot of freelancing. So now, what's a search engine? A search engine is a computer program that retrieves information from a corpus. Corpus is a fancy way of saying a bunch of things. It's got a database, it's got a thing, and it has a system by which it returns a thing. All of them, like, that is a drastic oversimplification of the weird intrinsic But a search engine is an engine that allows you to search. How do they work? Let's all just go and take information retrieval classes and understand how weird these things are. At the core of it, when you're thinking about search engines, you need to understand that a search engine needs to find your web page. It needs to find your web page, it needs to understand your web page, and it needs to find your web page useful enough to answer, to help someone, to do something for someone. So, crawling, indexing, ranking. Crawling, Googlebot or Bingbot or whatever, Spider, crawls the entirety of the internet all day, every day. Finds new pages, and then it analyzes those pages. That is the indexing part of it. To get a page crawled, sitemaps, or links, either internal or from another website. Just an orphan page unless you push it to Google Search Console or like request that it be indexed. It's not going to be found, it's not going to be ranked, it's not going to be discovered by the search engine. Indexing depends on whether or not the search engine can see the page. If it can understand what the page is, that means no weird JavaScript, no weird like table tricking or cloaking or something like that could confuse the search engine. And it needs to find out if the page is useful. And it's comparing that to, theoretically, past experiences and its content model and a whole bunch of other things. And then if your page comes out on top, or at least in the top 10, shows up on the search results. People talk about things like rank brain and BERT. Those are text processing algorithms to understand what words mean and how they're interrelated and all those sorts of things. Links are also important. This is not like a super hot take. Links are important, content's important. If you remember nothing else out of this, have a website, write shit that matters to real humans, and interconnect it, and connect it to the rest of the internet. Like, we can call it, we can all go home now, we've figured it out. But there's a lot of intrinsic complexity in there, especially around a lot of the tasks, a lot of the functions that you're trying to do in search engine work. So, like, keyword research. When people talk about keyword research, they're talking about figuring out what they need to make, what they need to write about, what they need to talk about, and there are a plethora of ways that you can do that. You can, does anybody work for like a small business? Small business people. You can talk to your customers. Does anybody work at a company that has a sales team? A couple reluctant hands. You can talk to your sales teams and say, what questions do you have, or what questions do you get? What questions are you tired of? What questions, like what do people not understand about our thing, about our service, about our product? And that's your content. You can write that right there. You can do all of your keyword research without using any tool, just by having a conversation with another person and understanding, okay, if I was a person who didn't understand this concept, how would I look for it? What kind of questions would I ask? What are the things that will help? What are the things that I can create that will help somebody understand this minutia, this concept? And then you can look at numbers to figure out if the opportunity is there. Keep in mind that most tools that provide keyword level data are not accurate to some degree or another. It's part of the burden of being in this field is that we are making weird decisions on partial information. And if you're uncomfortable with that, you can go into paid search and know that when you are paying money, a thing is showing up. But you know, there are ways. You can also use like paid research to determine the actual volume around a thing. But numbers, super messy a lot of times, especially if you start comparing tools to each other. On-site optimization, really what we're talking about when we hear this mysterious word, and it does sound like wizardry. People are talking about you crawl your site with a tool like Screaming Frog, something that will pull down all of the HTML, all of the CSS, all of the JavaScript, all of the different elements of the page, and then put it in a nice, messy spreadsheet for you so that you can run some sort of analysis around it. Really, what on-site optimization refers to is making sure you're talking about real reasonable shit, making sure that you're making a promise with your title and you're keeping that promise with your content. Linking and link building, really it comes down to outreach. Are you sending people messages saying, hey, this is a thing that you might enjoy, this is a thing that you might find valuable, would you mind linking to it, please? Passive media strategies like having press releases or getting acquired or something like that. Those are complicated and difficult. You can also like beg, borrow, and threaten, but that's not advisable, and also don't pay for links, because more often than not, if you pay for links, as someone who started in black hat link building, it's mostly trash. Like you're not gonna get either a good ROI or a good, secure, stable website out of that. Go be a mess. Where I see a lot of difficulty and frustration specifically is around measurement. Measurement can be very complicated, especially if you are new to web analytics and understanding how they work, why they work, and what they do. I'm just gonna stand here. So here are some tools that could be helpful to you, depending on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to do on-site optimization, you're gonna want a crawler. A crawler is just gonna run through your site. Screaming Frog has a free trial. All of those are reasonably priced, and could probably hit the needs that you have. I don't know your personal website, so I'm going to use a lot of caveat language because that's the field. Screaming Frog is one of my personal favorite tools. SiteBulb is rad, DeepCrawl is cool. Thanks for sponsoring DeepCrawl. Y'all are great. You're going to need a crawler. You're going to need some sort of rank tracking or links tool if that is the type of work that you're doing. I'm a big fan of Ahrefs, but we also use Moz and SEMrush just for data variety. Since most of those rank trackers only have the keywords that people are actively tracking in them, you're relying on other people to build the corpus for you. So if you go with more than one of those, you might see different numbers, or you might see like no search volume, and then you go into another tool and it's like, okay, no, actually it's 10,000 people a month. Oh, okay. Glad I didn't fully trust that one tool. I don't personally like all-in-one tools. I know there are people who do. If you get deeper into SEO, you're going to find the tools that you like. You're going to find the functionalities that don't piss you off, and that's fine. You can have 3 similar tools that you like the way that Majestic's API works better than the Ahrefs API, or whatever. It's fine. Spreadsheet skills are legitimately one of the most important things, though. If you haven't spent some time deep in a spreadsheet, staring at the cells so that the world just kind of bleeds away, you'll get there. Don't worry. It'll happen at some point. And now a lot of the SEO field is the people who are kind of on the forward edge of that are thinking about things like Python and JavaScript. Are you raising your hand?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Back to the links one. So just a quick, I know you said you kind of want to use multiples, but
Yeah.
from a small business perspective, you can't afford to pay for all of those tools.
Yes. Yeah.
Where would you prioritize?
So, so, A big part of that depends on what the need is. Like, if you are a small business and you're trying to figure out where to invest your tool budget, Ahrefs to me is the best for the budget, and they have packages that go down to $100 a month and you can pay for them 6 months out. Many of these tools have free small packages, like Moz has one, SEMrush has one.
Yeah, SEMrush required a credit card when I tried to do the free trial.
Yeah.
So I bounced out of there, they've been harassing me ever since.
That's the fun of it.
Like multiple emails a day.
I'll warn everybody present, no offense if there are any SEO tool companies watching. SEO tool company sales teams can be very aggressive and they can be very frustrating. Don't be afraid to tell them to fuck off. Like, legitimately, like, I am a nice, reasonable person, but sometimes you're just like, hey, you're calling me at home? Why? Is this worth that? Is it worth pissing me off? And then you can learn a lesson about that, about how not to be a terrible company on the internet.
If you're a small business working with a small budget, do you really need to be doing keyword research every month, or could you just do that 1 month and then apply it to the year?
Yeah, no, you can absolutely, like, you don't need to wake up in the morning and do keyword research, just like, oh boy, it's Tuesday, keyword research day. I prefer to practice an iterative approach where I'll do a large amount of like deep analysis early in the year, and then as the year progresses, if there are other things that I need to add on top of it, concepts that I've missed or things that I wasn't aware of that are emerging trends, that's a good way to handle it, in my opinion. If you're a small business and you're trying to figure out what you're going to write about today, like going and looking at some of that data is very helpful, very useful. If you're a large company who has to set like an editorial calendar 6 months in advance, then you probably want to do all of your keyword research well before whatever that close, like whenever that window closes, to just be ready for it. It's all just kind of the needs. Like, this is one of the hard things about talking about introduction SEO stuff is SEO say it depends a lot, and that's because it does. There is no single answer. There is no single answer to any of this stuff. And not to spoil anything, we're all guessing. Every last one of us. Nobody knows what they're doing. Nobody knows why it works. We have ideas, we have theories, we have directions that we think we can go in. We have things that historically have shown us, like our historic understanding shows us that a thing works.
If I want to be known as a donut shop in Raleigh, for instance,
Yeah.
like where do I start to try to localize in on donut shoppery? Like, do I have a what is a donut site? Where do I go?
Yeah, so how many people are small local businesses, not online, just looking at, okay. You asked a great question. Google My Business will handle a lot of that stuff for you. That's part of why Google built that tool and that system. If there are other donut shops in competing areas, people will, local SEO isn't my specialty. Keep that in mind, please. If there are other local donut shops nearby, the results will vary based on where they are physically and some other factors. So if you have a donut shop that you're just trying to get off the ground, it's going to be reviews. It's going to be, respond to reviews, but not the shitty ones, because there is no worse look than a business owner getting on their own Google business reviews and yelling at a customer. Nobody likes that. It's not a good look. it will not play well on the rest of the internet.
I bet the difference that's our specializes in is reviews. You answer every one of them, but you let someone like me do it so you don't skin the game.
Yes.
So you're not
Yeah.
arguing with the customer, because you never want to be defensive, ever.
Yes.
So,
That's,
you answer all of
if
them.
you need donut shop reviews, this guy's got you. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the benefits of bringing in an agency, is bringing in someone who isn't going to get pissed that somebody says that your grandmother's cookie recipes are terrible. Like, you just don't want to be in that world.
So James, on this page crawlers, how do those tools help us so that Google can crawl our site?
So crawlers allow you to understand what problem areas you have in your site. So if you have a website and you throw a crawler at it and you know you've got 10 pages but the crawler only sees the home page, you need to understand why that's happening. You need to understand what got borked where in order to clean that up so Google can crawl the entire thing. If the other thing you use it for is like data collection. So if you want to analyze all your pages, you need to make sure that you know about all of your pages. And if you have a site that's over 150 pages, you've probably forgotten about a couple of them. Like, yeah. Okay.
I only have 2 pages, I forgot mine.
Yeah. Oh, and also, if you have a website and you haven't set up Google Search Console and Bing Search Console and Bing Webmaster tools, excuse me, you should really do that. Like it provides a way for you to communicate directly with Google systems.
What is Google Search Console?
Google Search Console is formerly known as Google Webmaster Tools. It is a tool that Google provides that provides you as the person analyzing the data with first-party information. So that's where Google shares the keyword data, that's where Google shares like clicks and impressions and rank information. If you want the most accurate rank information, use Google Search Console. Even though they don't adjust for ads and things like that, just caveat, 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 caveat. And if you're using Google Analytics, it's super easy to set up. It's probably, I haven't done it in a while, but I think you can just click one button and connect the two together.
Yeah.
Any other questions before I move on? So I'm going to stop and talk about measurement for a little while, because I think a lot about measurement. At the core of all of this, everything you do should have a purpose. And you should be able to articulate the purpose behind the thing in your own brain, and you should be able to find a number that aligns to that. Super complicated. My easiest measurement framework in the world is you launch a page, you've got a goal for it. You want it to rank for Raleigh donuts. Day one, you're interacting with rank. You're understanding where that's going, what's going on with it, and if you land in a stable position, is it where you want? If it's not where you want, you need to be looking at the ways to promote the page, ways to get it into that position. So that would be things like link building, maybe rebuilding the content to better answer the question. You might have missed something, or you might have weird glaring technical issues that you're not aware of. Once you get on the first page, then you're looking at clicks. Specifically, you're looking at the ratio between clicks and impressions, or click-through rate. And you want to compare that against the rest of your site and understand whether that page is performing worse or better. Click-through rate is super complicated, and it's really hard to compare any two pages, but you can get a sense over time of that. You know, if you're in position 3, but you're getting 0.0001% of clicks, something's not going right, you need to think about what levers you can tweak. A lot of this is understanding the problem and knowing what levers that you can pull. Once your click-through rate's in a reasonable place, you're looking at whatever your visitor metric is. If you're a web publisher, you're probably looking at page views. If you're like a B2B, B2C company, you're probably looking at unique visitors to understand how people are interacting with the site once they're on it. Because up until visits, or whatever your visit metric is, they're not actually on your site. They're just maybe going to go to your site. Then, whatever your conversion metric, whether it's a form complete, whether it's an asset download, whether it's a shopping cart, something like that, you need to then optimize for conversion. You need to be aware of that, you need to be thinking about that. How can you ease the transition between the search results and whatever the thing that makes you money is. And the last, look at revenue. Do we have any nonprofits in the room? What's up, nonprofits? Revenue doesn't have to be revenue. Revenue is whatever the thing that is the purpose of the site. If it's to get donations, it's to get donations. If it's to spread the word of whatever, then come up with a number that spread the word of whatever. So now we're going to talk about the hard stuff. The hard stuff, in my opinion, this is the stuff that when I was in your shoes, I struggled the most with. Finding ways to validate whether a thing is real or not. Specifically, news in the SEO world. Figuring out how to prioritize how to prioritize activities. And avoiding going down like deep, beautiful, weird rabbit holes that are always there and always interesting, and they just, you could go for days. So validating ideas. If you are super new to SEO, you will soon realize that SEO is right a lot. And there's a reason for that, because that's intrinsic to the SEO process. Some of it's bullshit. Some of it is total crap. Some of it is not real, or just an insane thing that a person wrote to promote their own product or themselves. Or it's boiled down to the point of being entirely useless. Developing a keen bullshit detector is very important for that. The way, sorry, I'm gonna hydrate. I recommend building a mental model. Think in your head, what do I think a search engine does? What do I think the search engine is looking for? What do I think is good or bad? And then you take that mental model and you hold it very tightly. And then you compare it to everything else, and if a thing works and it's not in your model, you need to update your model. If a thing doesn't work and your mental model's like, that has to work, that's 100% likelihood, gonna do everything that I want it to. You also need to update your mental model. Figure out personally which people in the industry or people who write are full of shit, or have an ulterior motive. And that's a personal opinion. You can feel that, you can believe that, and you can still be friends with them. And whenever I think about this, so I started in link building in 2012, and that was right around the time there was a lot of weird algorithm stuff, specifically around links and paid links. And prior to 2012, everyone was talking about how links were dead, links weren't real, links didn't matter. Google's smart enough to understand what page is good without the kind of democratic vote of a link. And then they did Penguin? I think it was Penguin. And shot all that in the foot. And everyone like 2 days later, everyone comes out and they're like, oh, I guess links still matter. They never didn't. The thing that I use with that to build that mental model is a sense of what search engines' goals are and how they make money. And as long as you understand those two things, Google makes its money off of ad revenue. So it wants people to click on ads, but it recognizes that if it inundated people with ads at every stop, they would stop using Google and they'd go over to Bing. Just kidding. So that's the constant strain that we're seeing right now. Google keeps changing the way they display ads in order to try and trick people into clicking on the ads so they get more ad revenue. And then people get pissed and they undo that work. Or people adjust. I think Rand said that people adapt to whatever ad design exists gradually and over time. So if you understand the goals, you can understand what they're trying to do, and you can compare this stated fact that someone has said to those goals. And if it doesn't make sense, it might just be a bug, or it might not be real. Prioritization. Y'all, I've spent a lot of time doing things that didn't matter. I don't mean just like personally in my life, I mean in my professional career. And kind of the benchmark that I use now is effort, impact, and importance. The effort is how much of my time is it going to take, how much of my time plus any other people working on the project is it going to take. Impact, what's it going to change? And is that thing in trouble, or is it just not doing what I wanted it to? Things that are in trouble get priority always. And then importance. Does this help the business? Does this help the site? Is this a thing that will actually matter for it? Your donut shop, if you build a page about cotton candy, it's not going to do anything for your donuts. So just double down on the donuts. And if you use my mental model exercise, then that's a great way to validate or invalidate aspects of your mental model. So you can say, I think internal linking is super important. I'm going to aim every single link, a link from every single page on my site to this one page. And then you can determine whether or not that worked for you and your site. And either cross it off or check the box and carry that idea forward. This is an evolving process. There is no fact in SEO. There is no truth in SEO. That sounds like a nightmare sentence that I just said. There is, but things can change very quickly, or not at all. And if you approach it with the long-term view of what a search engine probably looks like in 15 years or 20 years, you won't get spun up about voice search, because they're still going to need to pull that content from somewhere. And if it makes sense for your business to own some voice search results, go after the voice search results.
Jairus, could you talk about internal linking a little bit more? You said linking between pages.
Yeah, you should always be linking between pages. And that goes back to the crawling aspect. If Google can't find a page, it doesn't know it exists. So the ways that you can help Google understand that a page exists is through your sitemap, if you have a sitemap, through internal linking within your website, or from someone else linking to that page. You have the most control over internal linking. So the thing that you want to keep in mind, you want every page within 2 clicks of every other page in a way, shape, or form. And you can do that with things like hub pages, you can do things like that with tag pages or dynamic roll-ups, or you can manually go in and add a link to every single page from every single other page.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily recommend that.
Is that important where we are linking page to another page? Like at the top?
So anchor text is contextualized. The word anchor text being the words that are in blue that you click on to go to the page. Those are important in that they contextualize the page. They provide you with information about what the page is. And if you have what Nielsen Norman Group refers to as a good information scent, which is that you're showing what they're expecting to find on the next page, you'll have better click-throughs, you'll have fewer exits on that next page. So low bounce rate. Exit rate, because the bounce rate would be when they land and then leave. Yeah. So the research that I have done shows that the majority of people use blue text links in the body. Nobody cares about your nav. Nobody cares about your menu. It's okay. It's all of us. Maybe they do. I don't know.
Doesn't matter where in the body, as long as you link to other page in the body, we're okay.
You're asking this question in a way that makes me concerned that I'm going to say something that you'll it'll shoot you aside in the foot, and I'll be like, no, that wasn't the thing that. So link in the body copy in the where it shows up. Be reasonable.
Okay.
We've all seen like terrible spammy websites where every other word is linked to a different page, and that's gross, and that doesn't work.
If you're holistic with it though, you're going to be writing a blog or something. When you're writing a blog, you go, wait, you know what? I had another blog where I talked about the subject, so I'll link it to the other blog right there. And a little while later, I might think of another blog that I wrote that I'll link to, and then I might have buddies. And this is what's really good is if I have a friend or someone on the web or anybody on the web that has a great website, I might during my body of my text link to their blog, and then I'll send them an email and say, hey, I wrote this really great blog. I thought you might be interested, and hey, if you really like it, please give me a link to that. And 9 times out of 10 they will if they're friendly. So.
Okay, so it's okay to link to your friend's blog and expect them to link back to you.
No, you don't ever expect.
Don't expect. The threat thing was a joke. Don't actually threat anybody. I mean, there was a time where people would, without hesitation, link to everybody who linked to them. And that's kind of gone by the wayside because people are afraid of getting a penalty. But for the most part, Google isn't going to penalize a natural looking link between one website and another relevant second website.
That's the word I was going to use. I was just going to say relevant is the most important part. If you're writing about donuts and you send it to a children's swimming place, that's not relevant. If you send it from one donut thing to another site that's how to make old-fashioned donuts, now you're talking.
Let's have to take it.
Now we're doing reasonable linking rather than.
But relevance is the biggest key too.
And that, like, there are no numbers that can tell you how relevant it is. You have to use your understanding of the internet, your understanding of humans, your understanding of words to figure out what makes sense and how those connections need to happen.
I just wanted to throw out, because we were also talking about when you use the crawler. This is another opportunity for that website with over 150 pages. You might crawl it periodically, just
And
get a list of
remind
all the
yourself.
titles.
Yeah.
And then once you have that list of titles, see what should be linked up that you don't have links yet, and then build that internal structure.
So going back to like links in the body text or whatever, I've heard a few times recently that is actually inaccessible, especially to people using screen readers, because when you get to that link, it like sends them while they're mid-sentence. And so it's been recommended to like put the links at the bottom of the body text. Does that mess things up in terms of indexing?
So I think I was looking at ARIA and Ally, which are two accessibility standards, and neither one of them had anything around that. And I think that's a difference with the screen readers, because some screen readers don't automatically go there, because that's dangerous as hell. Like
Right.
you accidentally go to a weird spammy website and they're just bouncing you somewhere.
Or even just having to listen to it tell you that it's a link as you're trying to like just listen to a paragraph or something can also be super annoying.
Yeah.
Especially if you have several links in a paragraph.
Right.
Don't need to read it.
Don't be blind? Is that your answer? That's fucking awful. No. From my understanding, I'm not, like I'm trying, that is a thing that I'm working on learning more about, which is the relationship between accessibility and structured data, markup, all that sort of stuff. My understanding at this stage is that it's okay. It's fine to put links in body copy. If we have anyone in here who uses a screen reader and I'm super wrong, throw a chair at me. All right.
Let's show up at your next meeting.
I don't know about you want to throw a chair.
That's fine. You can't, yeah. We'll close this out and then we'll throw chairs. Have a big old chair fight. Rabbit holes is a thing that I struggle with. As I understood more and more of SEO, I would sometimes lose a couple days just because I'd be researching a thing or I'd be deep diving, and then I come out the other side and it's not useful at all. And that's okay. Like the thing that I've started to do now is establish time for myself to do that. And time for myself to stop doing that. So if you want to go down a rabbit hole, go down a rabbit hole, but don't let it fuck up your day or your workload or everything in your life. Like just, we're adult humans, I believe, with self-control. Sometimes it will be super interesting, and sometimes you'll still do it. Sometimes I still do it, and that's okay. But don't beat yourself up if a thing takes 10 times as long because you were trying to figure out whether or not this one tag was breaking the head in the HTML document. Like, sometimes it's the cost of doing business. As you all go on your understanding SEO journey, there will be times where a thing that might take Frank or myself 5 minutes to do takes you 13 hours. That's fine. It's okay. Like, we all learn, we all adapt at different rates and at different paces. And the next time you do it, it's not going to take you 13 hours. Next time you do it, you'll be like, oh, I should have done this from the beginning. It only takes 7 minutes.
It's a totally different animal for me.
Squirrel, squirrel,
Yeah.
squirrel.
It's not a rabbit hole, it's a squirrel.
Yeah. I'll update this to say rabbit holes and squirrels.
Yeah. Rabbit holes is different, I think, than squirrels. Squirrels is more ADD and just, oh my god, look at that shiny thing, look at that shiny thing. Whereas rabbit holes, you're studying in for something and trying to know something.
Yeah.
It turns out that it's not, like you said, what you thought was very useful.
Yeah. Well, and there are definitely, no, I like that delineation, and now I'm updating my mental model on how to give this presentation.
I need to have rabbits and squirrel pictures of it.
Yeah, things will pop up, things will distract, things happen. We all have to find ways to keep working and keep doing stuff. I believe in all of you, even though I don't know any of you, except for 2 of you. Like, this is okay. This isn't scary. Go and read and figure out if it's bullshit, and try some shit and fail and fuck up a few times. It's replaceable. It's fixable. Most of this is fixable as long as you don't get de-indexed for spending $5,000 on a personal blog network to just aim at this one page and you get all those links in 5 minutes. Like, there are a few things in this world that are just one and done. You aren't going to break the world. You aren't going to take the internet down. Your website will probably recover. Consider everything a learning opportunity, and just try some shit. And also, I kind of blew the lead on this. Nobody knows what they're doing. We're all just guessing. For the most part, that's okay. We can guess. We have that luxury. We can figure it out. How'd I do on time, Frank?
Very good. Awesome.
Oh.
We're actually on time.
Oh!
Any other questions? We got time
Yeah.
for this too.
No, this.
I have a piece of advice.
Yeah.
I was telling her that one thing I did when I started learning SEO is I didn't actually use my sites that were production sites.
Yeah.
I actually went and bought a domain on a niche that I wanted to try out.
Yeah.
And threw up a WordPress site,
What-
threw all kinds of content,
Yeah.
and just start playing, just throwing everything SEO at it and watching the analytics.
100%, I cannot advise people to build a project website enough. Even if it's just a way to learn, even if it's just like, I've never stood up a WordPress site, let me go and do that and see how that works. I've never, Drupal's a nightmare. I wish I would have built a Drupal pilot site a million years ago. Yeah, build a project site, like tweaking and experimenting. That's the key. That's how we learn. That's how I learn. I shouldn't force you to learn in the way that I learn. That wouldn't be beneficial.
I know some agencies that have, they call it an infinity project. And it's one of these learning kind of projects where no matter what's going on, there's an infinite number of tasks that can be done on this project over here. So when they have a spike in volume of clients coming in, they drop the infinity project and they focus on the clients. And then once the clients taper off, they turn their attention back to the infinity project.
Yeah.
And they're just messing with different stuff. They might have 2 or 3 of these where they're testing different things, but they're internal projects that are just there for learning.
The first agency that I worked for had a couple of those, and there were a handful of other SEOs that were like focusing on that so that they could get better at writing for SEO, so that they could understand like some of the more journalistic aspects of that, and just get better. Like, this is not a thing that you get good at by sitting around reading blogs. Like, blogs provide you with the ideas. Blogs provide you with information that you can combine with everything else in your brain and figure it out. At the core of it, though, a lot of this shit is reasonable. It's like, nobody knows the entirety of Google's algorithm anymore. That's fine. If anyone tells you that they know all of it, they're lying to you, and move away from them as quickly as possible, and don't give them money.
Not even Google.
Huh?
Not even Google.
Yeah, not even Google.
Not even
So
Google.
since they've switched a bunch of the processing elements over to like these machine learning models with certain outcomes in mind, Google engineers don't even know it. Like, they can't express to you why a thing works in a certain way anymore. And that's been difficult for some people to grok, but it's okay. Like, we're in the future, y'all. Like, we can have weird, mysterious robots making decisions for us about where we go and get donuts.
So, I have a page
Yeah.
that I've kind of optimized
Yeah.
for a certain key phrase, and a couple of things I'm wondering about it, because right now it's like on page 12, right,
Yeah.
of Google search
Yeah.
rankings. And so a couple of things I'm wondering is, first off, like, how long generally should you wait to see if optimizations sort of take effect? And then also, like, is buying AdWords for that key phrase a way to move it up and keep it there?
No.
Okay.
So there are some, well, not in Google. There are some search engines where that's the case. Like, Baidu is one of those. Yandex, I believe, is another one. Part of the founding of Google is based on not having that, not doing that. And from, did somebody try to interject? Okay. And from what I've seen, as someone who is working for an enterprise company and has seen how enterprise companies bid on keywords and has seen how enterprise companies set money on fire sometimes, if that was the case, there'd be a whole lot more weird shit going on Google. Like, just think about the stuff that Amazon, like Amazon already has a very robust search presence, but think about, like, if they could do that, they would just own the world.
Take over.
They would run everything.
Just half the world, but the whole
Just,
world.
Google probably blocked that product.
just fight. So the other part of your question, how long to tell when, whether or not you need to re-optimize. Do you have access to your server logs?
Yeah.
Okay. So there are blogs and articles about checking, like examine your server logs, figure out the last time that page got crawled by Google, then double check that it's actually Google and not somebody using a user agent that's set to Googlebot. And then I give it a month, maybe a month or two, like just to be safe. If you have a lot of weird, sketchy JavaScript, or like if you have a lot of JavaScript on this site, that can take a little bit longer because it has to be processed by a separate microservice stream. But yeah, like 2 months, it should be enough time to figure out if it's going to come back or if it's just dead.
And for everyone that's here for SEO 101, we just left 101 in the dust.
And like, if that created any questions, ask them. I can answer. Like, we can talk about that.
We're so far down the road.
Well, it is helpful to know it takes like a month or two as well.
Yeah.
Like that's hugely comforting.
Yeah. I just.
If you're starting a new site, it's not uncommon for it to take like 6 months for you
Yeah.
to really start appearing in Google if you're completely in it.
I just. Oh, and I forgot to say this at the beginning. All of my words are my own opinion and do not represent the company that I work for. I built a model not long ago to figure out how long a page takes to get up to speed. And if it's quickly indexed, I was seeing 1 month for it to break a certain threshold, about 3 months to break a second threshold. But it was looking at a lot of topics that are growing, in that the interest is growing consistently. So it's harder to model that and figure out what's the page doing that and what's the interest in the world doing that. But I'd say after 2 months, 3 months, but you have to make sure that Google sees it. Another way to do that, if you are confused with the idea of server logs, is with advanced operators on Google. So you can do type site, then your website, and then the search term associated with it, or like the target for it. And that page should show up in the search results because you're confining it down to just things that are on your site and that word. And then you can right click and look at the cached version of it and figure out, like if you did a significant change, you can look at it and say, okay, this isn't the up-to-date version, Google hasn't crawled it yet. And if you've got Google Search Console, you can push Google to re-index it and then keep an eye on it. That's the non-server log.
No, thank you.
So how do
He had his hand up. You were impolite that time.
Thank you. So if you're trying to rank for something that's highly competitive, because you could go on about this, what are like the top 2 or 3 things you would focus on? Is it creating relevant content around that topic? Is it link building? Like, what strategy would you implement if you're competing with enterprise brands?
So yeah, you were talking about. We're jumping well out of 101. So what you're talking about is topic clustering. I am a big fan of topic clustering. And typically, when you start building content, so topic clustering is, you have this one idea that you want to go after. So you build a bunch of like the small pieces. Backlinko calls it the skyscraper. I think of it as just like a hub and spoke. So you build one page that is like the page that is targeting the high volume concept, and then you build a bunch of long tail search targeting pages that go into like deep nuance. So the idea is that over time, you know, when this less competitive keyword starts to rank, it'll start to drag the rest of your site up with it. I have also seen occurrences where one or two super long tail pages, that can actually increase the amount of links coming into them because it's like you're building a very nuanced conversation. So it might be something like, I'm going to use technology concepts because I'm in technology space. It might be a site like Stack Overflow where somebody shares that link, or it might be Reddit where somebody shares that link, or it might be some other place. Now, those links have slightly less value because they're probably no followed, but that helps like lift that up. It will be a slog. But on the bright side, large websites and large companies, if it's not a web-first company like a publisher, they probably move so slow that you can outmaneuver them.
Yeah.
Niche forums or that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
I guess the leading question: why do you recommend answer the people or answer the public?
Answer the public. Answer the public is like one of the coolest tools in the world. I should have put that on the thing.
You introduced me to it. So
Yeah.
Answerthepublic.com. And
Yeah.
you explain what it is.
Answerthepublic.com crawls a bunch of forums and websites and collects questions that people ask. It builds like a model. It's like a PR research tool for a British company. So you'll have to ignore British spellings, but it's super valuable and reasonably useful.
Unless your customer base is there.
Unless your customer base is there, that is correct. So what that can do is, because it's looking at forums, it's looking at questions that people had to ask forums because they couldn't figure out the search to get there. Or they just wanted to trust a forum better. So you can end up with this corpus of just questions and figure out like, okay, which one of these questions would help somebody buy my product? And you can start from there and you can pull back out of that. So like, if it's, can I ask what your site is? Or, I'm being very vulnerable in talking about enterprise technology. I know it's hard.
I sell Amazon services. I help brands go on Amazon. So
Okay.
Amazon advertising is something a lot of people search for.
Okay. So Amazon advertising is a thing a lot of people search for, and I imagine you've built the what is, how do I get started with,
Yeah.
why would I want to.
Yeah.
So Answer the Public will help you isolate like deeper, weirder questions. And it's similar to, there was this old tool that Neil Patel bought because he's a monster,
That's
and then shut down, called Uber Suggest. And it's very similar to that. And it's also very similar to like FAQ Fox. FAQ Fox is like Answer the Public, but you can pick which forums you're running through. So if you have like one particular subreddit, you can aim it at that, or if you have one particular deep niche forum, it'd probably be great for you if you like that. Yeah, so figuring out the questions, figuring out what the content opportunity is, and then asking yourself, like, would this help me make the goal that I have, whatever the goal is.
I just did Amazon services for you, so how Amazon marketing services, how to email Amazon, that's probably not going to be helpful to you. But you go through the list of them and you sort out which ones are related to contacting Amazon. There's a lot of them in here.
That's pretty cool.
That's how
Answer the people.
Answer the public.
Answer the public. Okay.
So there's people asking that question. Yep.
Yeah, it is, it's pretty crazy.
And it also has like weirdos on it.
Yeah,
Like there used to be this old bald guy who would just yell every now and then. This is Answer the Public. This is the tool that I'm talking about.
What?
I don't know. I think it's
We on the edge of that cliff.
Did they? Oh no, they didn't go to it. Yeah, so like, someone give me a thing that you care about or want to know.
How to build online presence.
Build online.
Like that's
No, that's just like that's there. It's right.
independent game development tools.
Oh.
Build that, we build that.
There you go, yeah, independent game development.
So usually what I like to do is strip off like some of those modifiers. Because usually if you're doing keyword research and you start like super focused, you don't have a lot of directions to go. But if you start broad and then kind of hone down, like neither are unreasonable ways to do it. It's just kind of like how your brain is more comfortable.
I had trouble with it though, because like our tools are for Blender,
Yeah.
which
Has very low usage as opposed to like Maya or some of the other ones.
well, not just that, but like Blender is a free volley, but like when you think Blender, what is the first thing you think of? What I did my smoothie this morning.
Yeah.
Like, no, people aren't Googling Blender.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's,
It's all in the name.
let's see.
wow, see, this is.
Yeah, that's not wrong.
Yeah, no.
That's
If it was a higher level concept, because we already added tools,
Yeah,
But it gives you suggestions.
here we go.
yeah.
Yeah. We developed tools audio. So
With
with
these
this,
interesting ones, since the screen's kind of small for me.
what's that?
I'm just asking, are there any interesting ones that you can see from there?
Whoa, that's plenty interesting.
For everyone in the back, you can call out without reading the whole screen.
Cool. Yeah, awesome game dev tools. That's probably not a great search query to go after, but hell, let's see how we do.
My website doesn't have awesome, and so.
Yeah, someone to the fast search it. Change the.
Oh, it's GitHub. Yeah. So you might be able to
Oh, it's a game.
build a roll-up of awesome game dev tools and start there. But I mean, it's hard when you're, because is it a SaaS or is it like a desktop application?
It's canned software, basically.
Okay. Yeah. So a big, this is going to be a convoluted sentence. Where I try to start is by figuring out the question that your product answers and identifying that and going forward. So that can take a lot of different forms. So specific niche functionality, like you might have success going after how to X in Blender, how to
Yeah, we were thinking about doing that. We're gonna have like some YouTube tutorial sponsored and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
So if you do that, go like make the YouTube video, then pull down the transcript, and then edit it and put it up as a blog post. Put it up as an article. Like, especially going back to the prioritization idea, if you're a small business, you've got super limited resources. You might not have somebody who can write 10 articles a week for $5. Also, don't pay someone $5 to write that quantity of work. $5 is a garbage hole. So a big part of it will be finding ways to create efficiencies. And if you develop a system that you can apply to any concept and say like, okay, I'm gonna make this video, I'm gonna get one person I'm going to interview one person, we're going to do like a walkthrough. From that video, I'm going to make a blog post, I'm going to make an infographic, I'm going to do all of those things. Like, you have invested in your content, you're being efficient with the way that you're building, and even if the YouTube doesn't pay off, the search might, or vice versa. Yeah.
Suddenly, why did I think of that? Because I hate watching videos, prefer to read the blog post
Yeah.
version.
Well, and you can even interconnect them so
Yeah,
that,
exactly.
like in the YouTube, you've got, hey, here's the this.
For a more detailed version.
Yeah.
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 And I used to do the more detailed version in the blog post itself.
Yeah.
And the video is the basic.
Yeah.
I do that a lot, the video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Because the videos share.
A lot of people do that, and if you want to, like, you can embed that on your page, you can do all that.
Or you share social media and try
Yeah.
to continue.
Don't forget, when you put the YouTube video out there, put a lot of the keywords and a lot of the blog stuff in the description below.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And also, weirdly, the file name.
yeah,
YouTube's wild.
yeah. Yeah,
Don't just use numbers and like job IDs or whatever.
I usually rename them after I upload it. Like, it gives the option to rename,
Yeah.
so you don't have to have that weird.
Thank you very much. I think we've covered your questions. And you don't have to necessarily run out of here. We can hang out, socialize, network, ask any questions that you want to ask in front of the group. There's a little bit of food left over if you want to help yourselves to that. Thank you very much for coming out this evening. Thank you, Frank. Oh,